Think you know NBA defense? Think again. The most insane blocks, steals, shutdowns, and records you've never heard about are about to be exposed. This is every defensive record in NBA history.
Bill Russell didn't just win, he built the greatest defensive wall basketball had ever seen.
Bill Russell is the ultimate symbol of defense in NBA history. Playing for the Boston Celtics from 1956 to 1969, he won 11 championships in 13 seasons, anchoring the greatest dynasty ever. Even though blocks weren't officially recorded in his era, eyewitness accounts say Russell regularly swatted away shots like a modern center. At 6'10" with unmatched timing, he mastered help defense, protecting the rim and igniting fast breaks. His rivalry with Wilt Chamberlain showcased his defensive brilliance, proving winning mattered more than scoring. Russell also grabbed over 21,000 rebounds, averaging 22.5 per game. His legacy is clear. Defense and championships were his language, and nobody spoke it louder.
Wilt Chamberlain didn't just score 100, he was a defensive giant rumored to block 20 shots.
Wilt Chamberlain is remembered for his scoring, but his defense was just as terrifying. At 7'1", with unreal strength and agility, Wilt controlled the paint like no one else. Though the NBA didn't officially record blocks during his career, stories from players and coaches claimed he had games with 20 or more. Chamberlain's rim protection forced opponents to change shots or avoid the lane entirely. Beyond shot blocking, he dominated the glass, finishing with 23,924 rebounds, the most in NBA history. Wilt even led the league in assists once, proving his versatility. His legendary defensive presence made every trip into the paint a gamble against a giant.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wasn't just the skyhook. He was the NBA's shot-blocking king before Hakeem took over.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is celebrated for scoring more points than anyone in NBA history, but his defense was elite too. At 7'2", Kareem was the NBA's all-time leader in blocked shots until Hakeem Olajuwon eventually passed him. He officially recorded 3,189 blocks, despite the stat not being tracked during his early seasons. With his long arms and perfect timing, Kareem made the rim a no-fly zone for 2 decades. Along with 6 MVPs and 6 championships, his defensive presence was just as valuable as his offense. Opponents feared the skyhook on one end and his shot blocking on the other. Kareem's legacy was complete dominance, everywhere on the floor.
Hakeem Olajuwon didn't just dream, he became the NBA's all-time shot-blocking king with 3,830 blocks.
Hakeem Olajuwon stands as the greatest shot blocker in NBA history. With 3,830 career blocks, no one has ever defended the rim more effectively. At 7 feet tall, Hakeem combined footwork, agility, and timing that made him nearly impossible to score against inside. He averaged 3.1 blocks per game across his career, with seasons topping 4 per night. Nicknamed the Dream, his defense powered the Houston Rockets to back-to-back championships in the 1990s. Olajuwon also added steals, leading all centers with 2,162, proving his quick hands matched his shot blocking. His dominance on both ends made him a complete force, arguably the most balanced big man the game has seen.
That's wild, but the next defensive record is even crazier.
Dikembe Mutombo didn't just block shots, he owned the paint and wagged his finger in defiance.
Dikembe Mutombo became one of the most feared rim protectors in NBA history. Standing 7'2" with an endless wingspan, he led the league in blocked shots 4 times and finished with 3,289 career blocks, second only to Hakeem Olajuwon. His trademark finger wag after rejections became one of the most iconic gestures in sports. Mutombo anchored defenses in Denver, Atlanta, and later with Philadelphia, where he helped the Sixers reach the 2001 Finals. He was an 8-time All-Star and won Defensive Player of the Year 4 times, tying Ben Wallace. Mutombo's legacy is simple:
Step into the paint, and you risk being sent away with a wag.
Mark Eaton didn't just protect the rim, he set the single-season record with 456 blocks.
Mark Eaton was a towering defensive force for the Utah Jazz in the 1980s. At 7'4", he used his massive frame and perfect positioning to become one of the greatest shot blockers ever. In the 1984-85 season, Eaton recorded 456 blocks, the most in a single season in NBA history, an average of 5.6 per game. He led the league in blocks 4 times and won Defensive Player of the Year twice. Though not known for scoring, his presence in the paint completely changed how opponents attacked. Eaton's record still stands decades later, a reminder of his dominance as a rim protector and defensive anchor for Utah.
Manute Bol didn't just block shots, he swatted 15 in a game, and he did it twice.
Manute Bol was one of the most unique players in NBA history. At 7'7", with impossibly long arms, he became a shot-blocking legend the moment he stepped on the court. Bol twice recorded 15 blocks in a single game, tying the second most ever, and finished his career averaging 3.3 blocks per game. In his rookie season, he led the league with 397 total blocks, one of the highest marks in history. Despite his thin frame, opponents feared driving to the rim against him. Bol's defense was his weapon, and his ability to completely erase shots made him one of the NBA's most unforgettable rim protectors.
Shawn Bradley wasn't flashy, but he became one of the NBA's most underrated and consistent shot blockers.
Shawn Bradley carved out his reputation as a rim protector during the 1990s and early 2000s. At 7'6", his size alone made him a challenge for anyone driving to the basket. Bradley averaged 2.5 blocks per game across his career, finishing with 2,119 total, ranking among the league's top shot blockers. In 1997, he led the NBA in total blocks, swatting away 228 shots for the Dallas Mavericks. Though often remembered more for being dunked on, his impact as a defender was real, altering countless attempts that didn't even make the stat sheet. Bradley's consistency around the rim proved he was far more valuable than highlights suggested.
This next stat is so rare, it's almost forgotten.
Alonzo Mourning didn't just score inside, he became a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year.
Alonzo Mourning built his legacy on toughness and defense. At 6'10", with a powerful frame, he was one of the fiercest rim protectors of the 1990s and early 2000s. Mourning won Defensive Player of the Year twice, in 1999 and 2000, anchoring the Miami Heat with his shot blocking and intensity. He led the league in blocks both years, averaging over 3.5 per game, and finished his career with 2,356 total. Beyond stats, his presence in the paint intimidated opponents and set the tone for his teams. Mourning's resilience, even after battling kidney disease, made him a defensive legend whose toughness defined an entire era of basketball.
David Robinson wasn't just the admiral who scored 71, he was an elite shot-blocking force. David Robinson is remembered for his 71-point game to win a scoring title, but his defense was just as legendary. At 7 feet 1 inch tall, with speed and strength, Robinson recorded 2,954 career blocks, ranking among the NBA's all-time leaders. He averaged over 3 blocks per game in 5 different seasons and won Defensive Player of the Year in 1992. Robinson's quickness made him unique. He could protect the rim, guard pick and rolls, and even switch on to smaller players. His presence anchored the San Antonio Spurs before Tim Duncan arrived, setting the foundation for their dynasty. Robinson wasn't just a scorer, he was one of the most complete defensive centers ever.
Jerry West wasn't just the logo, he was a feared defender in an era without steal stats.
Jerry West built his reputation as one of the greatest clutch scorers, but his defense was just as respected. Playing for the Los Angeles Lakers in the 1960s and early 70s, West earned a reputation for relentless on-ball pressure and quick hands. Unfortunately, steals weren't officially tracked until 1973, just after his career ended, but coaches and players insisted he would have been among the league leaders. At 6'3", West hounded guards, cut off passing lanes, and made life miserable for opponents. His intensity set the tone for the Lakers' backcourt defense. Even without recorded numbers, West's legacy as a two-way star remains undeniable.
Michael Jordan didn't just score, he won a Defensive Player of the Year while leading the league in steals.
Michael Jordan is remembered as the greatest scorer ever, but his defense was just as dominant. In 1988, he won Defensive Player of the Year, a rare honor for a guard. Jordan led the NBA in steals 3 times and finished his career with 2,514, ranking among the all-time leaders. His quick hands, relentless energy, and competitive fire made him a nightmare for opposing guards and wings. Beyond stats, his defense fueled fast breaks that often ended in iconic dunks. With 9 all-defensive first-team selections, Jordan proved he was more than an offensive legend. He was a complete player who controlled both ends of the court.
This record didn't just win games, it changed NBA history.
Gary Payton didn't just talk trash. The glove became the only point guard to win Defensive Player. Gary Payton earned his nickname, the Glove, because once he locked onto you, escape was impossible. At 6'4", he used strength, quickness, and relentless intensity to smother opposing guards. In 1996, he won Defensive Player of the Year, making him the only point guard in NBA history to claim the award. Payton also led the league in steals that season, while guiding the Seattle Supersonics to the NBA Finals. He finished his career with 9 all-defensive first-team selections and 2,445 steals, ranking among the all-time greats. Payton's trash talk was legendary, but it was his defense that truly broke opponents' confidence.
Allen Iverson wasn't just a scorer. He led the NBA in steals 3 different times.
Allen Iverson is remembered for his scoring explosions and fearless drives, but his defense often gets overlooked. Despite standing just 6 feet tall, Iverson led the NBA in steals 3 times, finishing with 1,983 for his career. His lightning-quick hands and anticipation made him a constant threat to strip ball handlers or jump passing lanes. Iverson turned those steals into instant offense, fueling fast breaks and momentum swings for the Philadelphia 76ers. While he wasn't a lockdown one-on-one defender, his ability to create turnovers made him dangerous on the defensive end. Iverson's steals record proved he could dominate without the ball, not just with it.
Chris Paul didn't just run offenses, he became one of the greatest defensive point guards ever.
Chris Paul has built his career on leadership, but his defense deserves just as much credit. At only 6 feet tall, Paul has led the NBA in steals 6 times, using quick hands and brilliant anticipation to disrupt plays. He's recorded over 2,600 career steals, ranking among the all-time leaders. Beyond the numbers, Paul's constant pressure on ball handlers and ability to read passing lanes made him a defensive nightmare at the point guard position. His 9 all-defensive team selections highlight his consistency over nearly 2 decades. Chris Paul proved that even undersized guards could dominate defensively through IQ, effort, and relentless competitiveness.
Jason Kidd didn't just pass, he finished top 3 all-time in steals with relentless defense. Jason Kidd is best known as a floor general, but his defense was just as legendary. Over his 19-year career, Kidd racked up 2,684 steals, placing him in the NBA's top 3 all-time.
At 6'4", with size and strength, he could guard multiple positions while still running the offense. Kidd's anticipation and quick hands made him a master of stripping ball handlers and jumping passing lanes. He earned 9 all-defensive team selections and used his defense to fuel fast breaks that defined his style of play. More than just a passer, Kidd proved great point guards could dominate by controlling both ends of the court.
The craziest part? We still haven't reached the biggest record yet. Kobe Bryant didn't just score, he earned 12 all-defensive team selections, locking down the league's best.
Kobe Bryant built his reputation on scoring brilliance, but his defense was just as fierce. Across his 20-year career with the Los Angeles Lakers, he earned 12 all-defensive team selections, tying him among the most in NBA history. At 6'6", with relentless energy, Kobe hounded guards and wings, taking pride in shutting down stars on the other end. His footwork, anticipation, and competitive fire made him one of the toughest one-on-one defenders of his era. Kobe wasn't satisfied with just outscoring opponents. He wanted to break their spirit defensively, too. His legacy proves he wasn't only an offensive icon, but a complete two-way superstar.
Scottie Pippen didn't just support Jordan, he was a lockdown defender and master of transition steals.
Scottie Pippen was the backbone of Chicago's defense during their 6 championship runs. At 6'8", with incredible length and agility, he could guard all 5 positions, suffocating opponents on the perimeter while protecting the rim. Pippen recorded 2,307 career steals, ranking among the best in NBA history. His ability to strip ball handlers and instantly turn defense into offense made him lethal in transition. Pippen earned 10 all-defensive team selections and was the perfect complement to Michael Jordan, often taking the toughest defensive assignment. His steals and versatility proved he wasn't just a sidekick, he was one of the greatest all-around defenders to ever play.
Kawhi Leonard didn't just earn the nickname the Claw, he won 2 DPOYs, stealing everything in sight.
Kawhi Leonard built his reputation as one of the NBA's premier defenders. Nicknamed the Claw for his massive hands, he disrupts offenses with steals, deflections, and suffocating on-ball pressure. Leonard won Defensive Player of the Year in 2015 and 2016, anchoring the San Antonio Spurs defense while guarding the league's best scorers. At 6'7", he combines strength, length, and patience, forcing turnovers and shutting down entire offensive schemes. His impact goes beyond the stat sheet. Steals and deflections often spark fast breaks and swing momentum. Kawhi's defensive dominance has carried over to Toronto and Los Angeles, proving his reputation as a 2-time DPOY is no accident.
Draymond Green didn't just defend, he became the NBA's most versatile weapon, winning DPOY in 2017.
Draymond Green is the heartbeat of the Golden State Warriors defense. At 6'6", he's undersized for a big, but his versatility makes him elite. In 2017, he won Defensive Player of the Year by leading the league in steals while also blocking shots at a high rate, a rare hybrid of perimeter and rim protection. Green can guard all 5 positions, quarterback defenses with his voice, and outsmart opponents with his anticipation. He's recorded triple-doubles without scoring, showing how much he impacts every possession. With 4 championships and countless big stops, Draymond proved defense can be just as valuable as offense in building dynasties.
Stick around, because the ending will blow your mind. Sidney Moncrief didn't just compete, he became the NBA's first back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year.
Sidney Moncrief was one of the toughest guards of the 1980s, known for relentless defense and quiet leadership. Playing for the Milwaukee Bucks, he won the very first Defensive Player of the Year award in 1983, then repeated in 1984, becoming the first back-to-back winner. At 6'3", Moncrief didn't have overwhelming size, but his footwork, strength, and energy allowed him to shut down bigger guards and wings. He earned 5 All-Star appearances and 5 All-Defensive Team selections, proving his consistency on both ends. Opponents hated matching up with him because he never stopped working. Moncrief's defensive intensity set the standard for guards who followed.
Ben Wallace didn't just defend. He became a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year and a rebounding beast.
Ben Wallace built his legacy on defense, toughness, and sheer effort. At just 6'9", playing center, he dominated the paint against bigger opponents with timing, strength, and relentless energy. Wallace won Defensive Player of the Year 4 times, tying the all-time record, and anchored the Detroit Pistons' 2004 championship team. He led the league in rebounds twice and blocks once, finishing with over 10,000 rebounds and 2,000 blocks. Wallace never averaged double-digit points, but he didn't need to. His defense changed games. Opponents feared driving into the paint when he was there. Wallace proved you could be a Hall of Famer almost entirely through defense and heart.
Marcus Camby didn't just protect the rim, he won Defensive Player of the Year as a block machine.
Marcus Camby carved out a long NBA career by specializing in defense. In 2007, as a member of the Denver Nuggets, he won Defensive Player of the Year after leading the league in blocks for the 4th time. At 6'11" with a 7'4" wingspan, Camby averaged 3.3 blocks per game that season and finished his career with 2,331 total. Beyond shot blocking, he was also an excellent rebounder, grabbing nearly 10 boards per game across 17 seasons. Though never a big-time scorer, Camby's defense made him invaluable to every team he joined. His timing, length, and discipline defined him as one of basketball's great rim protectors.
Dwight Howard didn't just dominate the paint, he won 3 straight Defensive Player awards as a rim protector.
Dwight Howard was the most dominant defensive force of the late 2000s. Playing for the Orlando Magic, he won 3 straight Defensive Player of the Year awards from 2009 to 2011, the only center ever to do it. At 6'11" with explosive athleticism, Dwight led the NBA in rebounds 5 times and in blocks twice, finishing his career with over 13,000 rebounds and 2,200 blocks. His shot blocking and rebounding carried Orlando to the 2009 NBA Finals, where his defense frustrated elite scorers. Howard's strength, leaping ability, and timing made him nearly impossible to score on inside. For years, he set the gold standard for rim protection.
But nothing compares to the unbreakable record coming up next.
Rudy Gobert didn't just guard the rim, he anchored defenses and won 3 Defensive Player awards.
Rudy Gobert has built his reputation as one of the greatest defensive centers of his era. At 7'1" with a massive wingspan, he controls the paint and alters shots even without blocking them. Gobert has won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times, in 2018, 2019, and 2021, while leading the league in blocks once and rebounds once. He has over 1,500 career blocks and counting, and consistently ranks near the top in defensive rating. Known as the Stifle Tower, his presence forces opponents to avoid the rim altogether. Gobert's defense defines entire game plans, making him the ultimate anchor for any team he joins.
Alvin Robertson didn't just defend, he recorded the only quadruple-double in NBA history with steals. Alvin Robertson made his mark as one of the most disruptive perimeter defenders ever. In 1986, while playing for the San Antonio Spurs, he recorded 20 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, and 10 steals, the only quadruple-double in NBA history built on steals. Robertson led the league in steals 3 times and finished his career with 2,112, averaging 2.7 per game, one of the highest in history. At 6'4", he combined quick hands, strength, and instincts to smother guards and wings alike. He also won Defensive Player of the Year in 1986, proving his impact wasn't a fluke.
Robertson's defense was relentless, turning turnovers into instant offense. Meta World Peace didn't just play defense, he bullied stars into submission and won DPOY in 2004.
Meta World Peace, known earlier as Ron Artest, was one of the most physical and intimidating defenders of his era. In 2004, with the Indiana Pacers, he won Defensive Player of the Year by locking down the league's best wings. At 6'6" and built like a tank, he combined strength, quickness, and relentless energy to smother scorers. Artest earned 4 All-Defensive Team selections and built a reputation for taking on challenges no one else wanted. He later played key defensive roles for the Lakers, helping them win the 2010 championship. Controversial and fiery, Artest's toughness made him one of the NBA's most feared defenders.
Joakim Noah didn't just defend the paint, he won DPOY in 2014, playing like a guard. Joakim Noah brought a unique energy to the Chicago Bulls, becoming one of the most versatile defenders of his time. In 2014, he won Defensive Player of the Year, anchoring a Bulls team defined by grit and toughness. At 6'11", Noah wasn't just a rim protector. He could switch on to guards, disrupt passing lanes, and even run the offense from the high post. That season, he averaged 12 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, and over a block per game, showing his all-around impact. Noah's passion, hustle, and unselfish play made him the heart of Chicago. His defense and leadership kept the Bulls competitive in every battle. Tyson Chandler didn't just rebound, he anchored the Knicks' defense and won Defensive Player of the Year in 2012.
Tyson Chandler carved out his reputation as one of the best defensive anchors of his era. In 2012, he won Defensive Player of the Year after transforming the New York Knicks defense into one of the league's toughest units. At 7'1", Chandler used length, timing, and communication to protect the rim and organize teammates. That season, he averaged nearly 10 rebounds and 1.4 blocks per game, but his value went beyond stats. He made the Knicks accountable defensively. Chandler also played key roles on championship teams, including the 2011 Dallas Mavericks. His leadership and rim protection proved defense could change the identity of an entire franchise.
Marc Gasol didn't just guard the paint. He won DPOY in 2013 with pure defensive IQ. Marc Gasol built his career on intelligence and positioning rather than raw athleticism. In 2013, he won Defensive Player of the Year, anchoring the Memphis Grizzlies' grit and grind era. At 7'1", Gasol averaged 1.7 blocks and 7.8 rebounds that season. But his real impact came from reading plays, directing teammates, and shutting down drives before they started. His presence helped Memphis become one of the toughest defensive teams in the league. Gasol also earned 3 All-Star selections and later played a key role in Toronto's 2019 championship run. His defensive IQ proved that brains and anticipation could rival speed and power on the court. Nate Thurmond didn't just defend, he made history with the NBA's first official quadruple-double in blocks. Nate Thurmond was a defensive giant of the 1960s and 70s, known for his strength, rebounding, and rim protection. On October 18, 1974, while playing for the Chicago Bulls, he recorded 22 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, and 12 blocks, the first official quadruple-double in NBA history. At 6'11", Thurmond combined muscle with defensive instincts, making him a nightmare in the paint. Though overshadowed by legends like Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, he was a 7-time All-Star and one of the toughest defenders of his era. Thurmond's historic quadruple-double cemented his name as a pioneer of all-around defense, proving his impact went far beyond scoring.